Today, I'd like to do an online webinar for people that aren't always able to schedule webinars, so we were going to offer this on our website. If you have any questions, you can always call and have an on-site webinar, and we'll be happy to do that. For follow-up, this will be a good, just kind of a preview of what a webinar actually does. So what I'm going to do is get started on the actual workflow, and then I'm going to show you how we got to the workflow. Assuming you have your maps and customers set up, chemicals, several things, I'm going to go ahead and do the workflow. So we're going to, after you get a login, you'll log into the program, and you'll see these menu buttons up here at the top. They do the same thing as the green buttons, but the green buttons are really great when you're on a mobile device. When I'm on a regular desktop computer, I like to use the menu at the top. You'll receive a login. There's unlimited users. So when you do set up your users under Manage Users, there are different types of users. If you're an applicator, you'll have like a default vehicle with different licenses and states for compliancy reports, commission information. You don't have to give your user a username and password, but if you want them to log in, you'll give them username and password as well as a permission screen. If they're a pilot, a lot of times people will just only put scheduling or maybe building maps onto the system. So when they log in, that's all they can do. But if it's like someone that needs access to everything, you can just check everything. And when they log in, they'll see everything. That being said, let me go ahead and go through your workflow. I think it's always good to still write down something in a ledger when the work is called in. And then you're going to go to Manage Job Scheduling. Manage means to add, edit, review. These are jobs that have already been added into the system, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Add to add another new job. And I'm going to click Select Locations, which means I'm going to choose my fields to be applied. I'm going to choose Mr. Anderson, who have already pre-built some maps, and it will bring the maps in, and I'm going to click on this map, these fields. You can either click over here or click over here on the right and choose your fields, and I'll click Select Locations. And what it will do, it will bring up each location, and it'll bring up the last crop that you did. If you need to change that, you can change that, and it will save with the field until you change it again. Now, some people are required to put pests. Some states are required, some are not. So I'll put a couple pests on there, and I'm going to click Copy. And now we've got our each location with the acres and the pest. If you want to put a schedule date, you can do that. It's not required, but it's an optional thing. Expired, proposed, call. Right here, I'm going to put in I'll put 5-gallon work, and we previously set these up. I'll put in some headline, and then I'll put in some induce. Now you can change these rates. You can set up default rates if you want. What's really neat is we have a calculator as well. If you don't know the rate per acre, you can go in here and change it to, like, if you have a percentage, you can put like 1/4% of 5-gallon work, and it will calculate that for you. Or maybe it's 1 to 3 acres, or whatever. It allows you to calculate your amount through a calculator. And then I'm just going to click on Say. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to assign it to a pilot. If you don't have a pilot to assign, if you don't want to assign it to a pilot, you can at least put it in the capacity of the vehicle, or put the vehicle in so it will be able to calculate loads. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Save Job Schedule. And now the next workflow would be to click on the applicator report to get your map and your fields. These fields right here are an optional thing. You don't have to show these up. You can suppress them. It does give you a lot of information about each field if you want the pilot to have that. It also prints out a loader sheet. So this, depending on your capacity and your acres and your diluent amount, it calculates 3 loads. That's also an optional thing. So if you only want just a pilot map, you can do that as well. It gives you a lot of information on the pilot map. You have your job number, customer information, your load acres, and your flown acres, and your how many loads, and your first lat long, even your distance to the strip right here. It has all your chemical information here, brings in your pre-harvest reentry information. This particular setup, you can set your program up different ways. If you want to see nearby locations, you can do that. So I've got rice conventional here. because it's something, if it's a sensitive field, you might want to see what's close by. Even if it's not the existing customer, it could be a different customer or a neighbor. You can put that in. We also work with DriftWatch. Well, I'll show you in a moment a sample of a DriftWatch, but on the DriftWatch, it will automatically show up if someone registered any beehive, organic crop, anything in DriftWatch. It will automatically show up on our map because we stream with DriftWatch. We don't upload like the other companies. We actually stream with them, so it will actually, if you are eligible, there's particular states that are eligible, then we can sync you with DriftWatch. I believe they do ask for a donation of, it's not a lot of money, like $100 something to sync with us. Anyway, there's different things that you can show on the field. I've got these little label markers, but that's optional here. If you don't want to show the field name, you don't have to. There's different settings. And you'll notice that we have little obstructions like windmills or beehives, whatever you want to show on the map. You can put comments here that go along wherever that map is printed. Anyway, and when you print that out, it also has a place to document for the pilot to document weather information. Right down here are buttons that you can click on to download your GPS integration files. So if you don't even want to print a map, you can just click on this little button right here, and you share that you send that to a thumb drive. And on the new AgPilot X system, you can actually just click on that button. It will automatically bring it up in their GPS system. Now that's putting in their GPS system. We can also upload the log information as well. A lot of pilots, they're just actually getting into the, logging into the system on a mobile device on their plane. And some of them bring maps as well. And they're logging in, and they're actually just moving around the map on their device and just finding out where they need to go. And they just log in and they're pretty much paperless. So that works really well too, especially if you're out on a job and there's more jobs that are added close by. Well, if the person in the office added another job, all you gotta do is log in and go to the next job. It works pretty well. It's a good workflow. All right. So another thing that we offer, it's an optional thing. You can, when you're fixing to do the job, you can click on pre-notification. If you want to put approximate date and time, you can, or extra notes. It will say the following locations will be applied with the recipe, reentry information. You can send text or email, and when you send that, it will send it out immediately. Some people send these to crop consultants, growers, just multiple people. So it will turn dark brown if you do send a pre-notification. It doesn't mean you can't send another one. It just let you know that you did send it. Also, if you just want a map, you can click on map and you just get a full map of the job. If you'd like to do that, you can print that as well. All right, so now I'm going to click on edit. We're going to assume the job is done. And what we're going to do is transfer that to an invoice. So I'm going to say applied invoice, applied info, click on the pilot and put the date information in. And I highly suggest that you put your tag information. This gives you a really good report for your vehicle maintenance. All right, and then if some states need ground crew information, if you do want to document that, you can set those up. I'm going to go ahead and put the time, beginning and ending time, starting and ending time. We have a little app that's powered by Dark Sky that you can use. It looks at your closest weather station to your first lat and long, and it will populate that information for the weather. You can even forecast 5 days ahead of time if you want to put the date 5 days ahead of time. But if you want to change any of that, you certainly can. Everybody wants to know if you can override that, and you can. It's just a really good tool to fill that information in. There's different ways. If you did a partial job, you could say I did a 50-50, maybe another pilot did it, or you can change your locations and maybe only did one field. You can separate these up for demonstration purposes. I'm just going to say that Eddie did all of the jobs. And also, one good thing about the notifications, it is required by law. I don't know how much they enforce it, that you keep a digital log of your notifications right here. And this actually gives you a really good log. It's tied with that job of any notification. This is the pre, and I'm fixing to do a post notification. So I'm going to transfer that to an invoice, and there's where it does my post notification. There we go. And it's going to send out and say they have been applied at this time information. So, and then we have your hours reentry pre-harvest where they can get back in the field. And it was just sent out to them, and they'll get it immediately, as I mentioned. Now, I also wanted to show you the drift watch example. So let me, while I'm in the scheduling, I'm going to print an applicator report of the drift watch. Another thing, you can also put a lot more workers' protection information on the chemical right here, and it will show up wherever you set it up on the setting. You can put in the settings where you want it to show up, whether you want it to show on invoice, on pilot sheet, load sheet, whatever. You can set that up in a setting. It's just an optional thing. Right here is an actual drift watch example. So on the map, it's bringing up an organic crop, beehives, vegetables. And so, like I said, we stream with DriftWatch. So it always shows up if they register something immediately, it will show up when you print the map, or bring up the map. All right. So we transferred a job out of the scheduling. It moved it into an invoice category. So field application invoices, these are all of they're called unposted invoices. That means they're up for review. You can print all your invoices at once, and then you will post them. So posting basically archives them and into a posted section. You can always view them. All of your data is always there. So right here, I just transferred this particular job here. I could print them all at once, as I mentioned. I'm just going to print one invoice individually just so you'll see what it looks like. All right, we've got our field information, and also your invoices they have different kind of formats, but it gives you your acres, your field information, the amount, your application information here, and pilot, product information, pre-harvest reentry. It has a little stub here. You can offer early pay discounts if they pay by a certain date. We can offer that on the statement as well. And let's see here. You can put your logo on the front, fits in a number 10 window envelope, and it can be emailed. We're working on a better email system where it automatically does it, but you can save it as a PDF and attach it and email it. Let me go ahead and edit the job. When you transfer it to an invoice, you can edit it and review it here. So it's really the same screen, except now you can see the cost. So the biller can see the cost. The people that only see scheduling will not be seeing the cost. So I set it up where we have an automatic $8. If you want to change that, you can on your 5-gallon work. You can also sell chemicals. So if I had set up a charge on this headline amp, it would have a chemical there. And you go through here and you see your billing. You got all your weather information. You've got your 2 notifications that you sent out. So just, if you need to change anything, you can change it at this point. Maybe you're going to give them a discount and you wanted to change that to 7 or whatever. You can do that. All right. So all of your history is always with that job. If I ever wanted to look up a job, I could go find it. I could print the map, or if I click view, you'll have all the history, as I mentioned, with that job. So very detailed information there. Now, as I mentioned, once you transfer your invoices over, you can print them all and then you post them all, and it gets them out of there. So all the new jobs that you transfer will come over later as you transfer them. I want to go through one more job just to show you if you don't do pre-notifications. Let me go ahead and click on add, select, and I'll just put Phil Arnold here. And there was one that I had log information there. Okay, and I'm going to choose that particular field and select locations. I'm going to use my last recipe. And you can save recipes, number of recipes. I'll just say we'll have this air tractor there and save. All right, and then if I just print that applicator report, we've got 1 field, we've got 2 loads. And there we go. And then if I wanted to download the GPS file, you can click that and send it to your thumb drive. There we go. So you could print that out, and you don't have to do notifications, as I mentioned. And when you're done, you're just going to transfer it to an invoice. I'm going to keep this here for now because I wanted to upload a applied log data on this particular job, and I'll show you how that works as well. All right, so now we have invoices. When you set up users, as I mentioned, you have commission reports. So let me go to applicators, print commission, and payment transactions. You can do it by date range, or if you want to do anything for the month, just depending on your workflow. I'll put I'll just say that date range. Everything can be date range, or there's multiple ways to print reports. So when you do that, it will give you information for each pilot on their commission information, and it gives them totals. If you want to enter payments to keep up with balances, you can do that as well. It will print a page for each ag pilot if you want to do this. You also can enter manual commissions. Maybe they work for someone else and you need to put it in, or just different adjustments or whatever. There's a way to go in here and do manual commissions and enter commission payments or enter manual commissions right here. So there's multiple reports. I'm not going to show you all the reports, but just show you the basics here. Now we do have a chemical database. The chemical database is used to find anything with EPA numbers. We have a interface with the EPA chemical database, which has thousands of chemicals. So you don't really want to, when you add a job, scroll through thousands of chemicals. So we kind of have your own custom database right here. And so let me show you how to browse for a chemical. All right, so I'm going to type in, let's see, let me put Roundup, because there's so many Roundups. We've already added quite a few Roundups. It's going to look for anywhere with the word Roundup in it. So quite a few Roundups. If it's already exists in the program, you'll see if I just hit edit, it already is in our system right here. Let me click cancel. So I'll just say, let me find another Roundup here. Roundup Garden Weed Preventer. So click on add. And then it just turns it into an edit so it's added into your system. It's that easy. So if I wanted to go find another one, let's see, Prix. Okay, I've added two, but I'll add another one here. Very simple to do. Now, if I want to edit that, you can also modify this if you don't want to show all the extra words there. Sometimes the EPA registration name can be fairly wordy. It defaults to liquid. They don't tell you if it's liquid or dry. So if it is a dry, you just change it to dry. Pretty simple. Now we have our default applied input. If you enter a job, it will automatically bring like 0 an ounce. But if you normally apply it in quarts, you can change that and change it to quarts or gallons, however you want to do that. And if you always have a kind of a certain amount that's always applied normally, it'll be a default amount. You can change that to be whatever it would be. If you charge for chemicals, this is the place that you put it. If you're applying the chemical, that's in the field application screen. Now, if you want to do over-the-counter chemical sales, you can do that as well. It could be a different price, and I could put that in. But it's very easy to do, and we have lots of reports that can help you with your chemical sales and your field applications. So if you are doing inventory, this right here I've defaulted to show it's an inventory item. How do you want to show your inventory? It defaults to gallon. If it's something else, then you would change that. If you have a normal cost the last cost that you have in the system, you could put like $50 or whatever, $50 per gallon. Or when you add chemical to it, you can put the cost in it at that time, and it will automatically update this field. It will always update it to the last time you added chemical, when you received chemical. So if you have a default vendor, you could change that to if it's normally co-op or whatever, and you can do reorder reports. So that's a little bit about our inventory. I'm going to go ahead and save that information. All right, so now that's the EPA chemical database, but let me go ahead and show you the other thing that we do in this chemical charge screen. So go to Manage Chemical Charges, and we set up, you can add your own application charges. They're unlimited. I've got one here for 2 gallon work. I just put 2 gallon work. The description is what's shown on the invoice, so you could either say 2-gallon work, or if you only want to show application, that's fine. We change it from chemical to application charge, and we'll help you set this up. And then they have a default price of $10 an acre. So anyway, setting up charges is very easy to do. Now, when you do fertilizer or dry work, a lot of people do tiered pricing. Right here, it'll say if it's greater than 100 pounds per acre, it's 8 cents a pound. If it's less than, it's $8 an acre. There's different ways to do tiered pricing, but that's the most common. And it's a dry, so that's how we do our tiered pricing. It defaults to a pound here. Alrighty. Now let me show you a little bit about our mapping. I do have a separate video for mapping, but I did want to show you. We do work with Surety. It's just a tool to build the polygons and bring them back to our system. We also have our own Google mapping interface, and it's free with the program. So if I went in here and I wanted to, build a particular map, what we would do is, if you have an FSA, if your area includes the FSA borders, unfortunately the FSA made a privacy law in 2008, so we don't always have the latest borders, but if they are good borders, then you could just actually click on these, the fields that are valid, and if they still are valid, and you can turn that off if they're not, and you can build your own map. So you could go right here and say maybe these fields changed. All right, and you can edit them later. Even after you saved it, you can edit them. All right, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fields here. You can also do pivots if you want to do a pivot, All right, so I'm going to save locations. And I'll just put, I don't know, I'll make up something. CAMO field 1. Maybe a farm area, it's a certain region, you can put that at the beginning. It's real easy to find later, You can change, or you can just call it, the field number if you want to do that. You can put whatever you want. I had one person put behind Bubba's Burger Shack. So different people do it different ways. You can change it, calculate your acres according to your coordinates, but you can change that if you need to. Maybe the farmer says, no, I know it's 220. That's okay. If you want to put a crop, the only thing that's required is an ID and a customer. But if you want to go ahead and put a crop, you can do that. So I'll just put mallow, and I'll copy that. When you copy it, it copies it to the other field identifiers. And right here, I'll just put home place and copy it. If you have a default strip you want to put on there, you can do a legal lookup, and it'll put your section, township, range, your state and county. There's some areas that the legal lookup doesn't work. It usually always puts the state and county though, but we are still working on some of these areas for the legal lookup. Right here on the customer, I'll put Phil Arnold there again and copy. And then I'll just go ahead and, let me see, I've got camo field 1, 2. We've already copied our crop and our strip and customer. And I'll just go ahead and put camo field 3. And I think I've got one more. Or do I have to? Let's see, got 2 more. All right, so then I'm going to go ahead and save these locations. So I could filter my screens. These are just building fields. If I only wanted to see customer Arnold's fields, and then I also want only one of the fields that started with camo, I'll filter that screen, and I want to see the list view and the map view, so I'm going to put both and filter my screen. And there are my fields. I've got the opacity set very low so you can see the background, but you can set your maps to be a lot more brighter, darker, change colors. Your colors are set up when you set the crop up. But if you printed this or emailed it to your grower, and you could even allow farmer logins where your farmer could log in and do this and only see their fields. So they really seem to like this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to schedule this work here. Go in and add, and I'll put select locations, Arnold, And I'll just say only the fields that start with chemo. And I'm going to do this field and maybe the pivot. Let's bring in my Milo, and I'll use the last recipe, and I'll choose just a vehicle and save. All right, and go right here. Got our loads, our chemical, our field information, and of course our map. All right, when I'm done with the job, go to Applied Info, Eddie, did on this date. All right, and I'll just say you did it at, go ahead and put my little defaults that I put in. Get weather, and transfer to an invoice. All right, do a little notification, which is not, it's an optional thing. All right, so now I'm going to go into my invoices, and I've only got one job transferred over so far, but you'll see if you edit that, it brought over all the same information. It has my setup default there for 2 gallon work at $10 an acre. Okay, and if I printed that invoice one more time, we'll print the invoice. You'll see our fields that we built. Camo field 1, 2, 4, and 5 with our dollar amounts, and that can be printed. All right, so the other thing I wanted to show you was uploading a log file. So if I go to upload log file, I'm going to click on upload files, and click on that little log file and close. All right, so a lot of people ask, can I upload log files even if you don't have a job? You could, you just won't be matching it to a job, but you'll be able to at least come in here and see your information here. I'm going to search right here, and it's going to bring up all the available jobs. It knows the ones that you've got out there that will be matching for that polygon, and you may have a lot of log information, so there may be more than one job actually on there to match it up with. So let me go ahead and I'm going to view this one on the map, and I'm going to confirm that match. There we go. So that's the job that I just did. So let me go back to the system here. Scheduling. Okay, normally if you click on a job, it turns into a map right there. You can look at the map, but when you match a log file to your job, you can actually click on log, and you'll be able to go in there and see the actual applied log data. So it's always with that job. If you ever got audited, or if your retailer or customer requires you to send that to them or wants it, you always have that information. So it's really, really good. I had a guy in Mississippi said he lost his thumb drive that he put it on. He'd already deleted everything, and so he was in a lawsuit. He said he really wished he had our program where this would have helped him a lot. You have options like to trim your information. You can actually see the spray pattern. So there's different things that you can do. There's like a show applied lines, show your swath width, and be able to print that. So that's a really good feature there. All right, so now I'd like to show you some of our reporting. I'm going to reports and posted field application report. This is one of our most often used reports. There's just so many variables that you can use this report for. A real common thing is that customers will call and want a copy of all of their information since maybe the beginning of the year. I'll just put everything since 01 to 019. And I'm going to click View Report. So Mr. Anderson called, and he has a copy. Now he has a copy of all of his invoices since the beginning of the year. Everything's date range driven, so you can do any date range. Maybe he wanted last year. And it gives you, sometimes you have split billing, so it gives you, if you filter for that customer, it says it's a little bit less because we had some split billing into the system. We do cover split billing, by the way, for landlord splits. All right, so maybe he has a soil consultant there, and he says, I need to know what you've sprayed on this particular field. So you can filter it down a little bit further, and you go to Tilton Field 1, and it has, the same information, but it gives you a more narrow view. And maybe you were audited, and you can say, I need to know what was sprayed on this particular date for Mr. Anderson, or you can just leave him blank and just say, I just need to know what was sprayed in your area at any time, anybody, So you take those off. Application date, maybe he wanted to know, the auditor wanted to know a particular time, 01/31 to 1/9 to 10 p.m. whatever, and if he wanted to know what particular chemical, you could put that in. So anyway, you probably want to suppress your charges and then click on that, and then you'll get another report for that. So there's all kinds of things that you can do. Another things that people like is the owner of the company might want to know how many dollars and acres that he's done. So you can put that date range in, and you might put last year's and compare. But if you click on totals only, you'll get, the acres and charges. If you do discounts, it gives you that information. So that's a really good flexible report. You can even get CSV format in it. So if I wanted to do a condensed transaction report, what that is a report that gives you a really good profile of your customer information. So if I had like customer name, you could sort it in different ways, or you could sort it by the largest field charges or acres or however. I'm going to sort it by customer name and put my date range in. It gives you each customer, the acres, the field charges, the chemical sales, that's over-the-counter chemical sales. If you have discounts or finance charges, or there's a place to put any other charges. Maybe you just want to do a manual charge or credit. Then it gives you your net charges and your payments. So it's just a great profile to find out, and even you can look at the totals at the bottom and see, just what you're doing in your company. Our company is actually called Data Smart. The product is Chem-Man, but the company is Data Smart because we think you should use your data in important ways, and these reports will help you. Of course, we have balance listing, aging listing, labels, address listings for your customers. It is a bookkeeping program or a complete accounts receivable program. If you have QuickBooks, we can interface with QuickBooks. We also have reports that will give you information to plug into QuickBooks if you just want to do totals only, since we do all the invoicing. We can talk to you about that. The comparison reports, after you've had the program a few years, it's really nice to use and compare your year to year. There will be more of these reports. I'm excited about some of the new reports that we're doing. Let me go ahead and show you the inventory reports. There's a report called the Chemical History Report. What it is, it's a detailed summary of how you got to your quantity on hand. Your quantity on hand, you can filter it if you only want to know what you did in the chemical or what you've got on hand for a vendor or a customer. But I'm going to go ahead and click View Report. And this gives you your chemical, your manufacturer, and your quantity. And what that is just a summary of all your additions, less your deductions. It will automatically take out your invoicing from your inventory. So, and there's a place for you to add to your chemical. So it's just basically what's taken out, what's added, less what's taken out. So this is your summary, your quantity on hand. You can also, in your settings, you can say, I want to know quantity and per vendor or per warehouse. So we've got a lot of different options, The history report will give you a lot of information as well. It will tell you how did you get to that quantity on hand. Maybe you wanted to know only a bound right here. We'll click that in there. And if I click, I've got it sorted by chemical, but you could also sort it by customer or chemical per vendor. But right here, you'll see all the places that I added a bound here. And so you've added 2168.25 gallons. I did some manual deductions here. You had some chemical sales that came out. Now, if you took them out in quart, it's going to, if you sold it by quart, you can see that it converts it to gallons for your inventory. And then scheduling, invoicing, everything, all your adds, less your deducts, ends up being 441.86 gallons. Now, if you only want to know a particular date range, you can do that, or if you want to group it by customer or vendor, all kinds of options. One of the things that we just recently added, and I'll take that out, was a new report called the sale details. And what that does, I'll just go ahead and change my date range to the beginning of the year. It gives you a really nice margin. So it will, you have your particular chemical and how much it costs, what you actually sold it for on your invoice, and then what it cost you, and then it has your profit margin. So I think that's really, really nice feature. And then what you could do is totals only if you just want to, don't want to see every individual item, and then you have a grand total of what your margins were on those chemical sales. What I did was I filtered it by only field application invoices, which you can sell chemicals on the invoice, and you can do over-the-counter chemical sales. So very easy to do. So that's your inventory chemical history report. There's, others, reorder reports and how much it cost you, just different kind of reports, but those are some of the most commonly used reports. Under your report menu, we've got a price list. A real common report that a lot of people use is the gross sale report. You can filter it like the others in different ways if you only want to know certain, only your chemicals or, other things. But I'm going to sort it by the beginning of the year. Filter it by the beginning of the year. And all depending on your sort is your report tells you what you're making the most money on. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to sort it by vehicle. And right here, we have every vehicle in that date range, how many acres were generated. I didn't put a lot of takt time on some of these jobs, which I should have. But if you put takt time, that will really give you a lot more information. You've got your dollars generated, your dollars per takt hour, and your dollars per acre. And the most important is, your average for your company, So you want to see that go up every year. If you notice your first vehicle, the 502 right here, is getting $178.27 per acre. I don't know, maybe just some junk data that we've got in there. But anyway, all of our data is just, kind of thrown together. So you'll just have to imagine your own data in the system. But anyway, you get the point of it. It sorts it by the top grossing per acre vehicle. Now, if I change that to, let's say we're going to put crop there, you'll see what you're making, what crop is making the most money. If I change that to customer, you'll see which customer you're making the most money. It's not necessarily the most sales, but it is the most money per acre. It's just the figures. All right, so if I go right here to chemical charge, you'll see each chemical, what you're grossing per acre, and then you can go by state. I like the chemical charge type. You can go in there and see, how much you're doing in dry, liquid, and so forth. All right, so that's a neat report. Another report that I'd like to show you is for your flights and starts takt information. If I put everything since the beginning of the year and change this to today's date and click totals only, this is what your vehicle maintenance people need to calculate your cycles remaining on your engine, and you're really required to do that. I've talked to the FAA about this. We have another program that we're hoping to get done pretty soon called Service Life that will give you your cycles remaining automatically and notify you when you're getting to a certain point. We have this in our desktop. We also sell it to maintenance shops, but it will be incorporated in Chem-Man as an enhanced feature. So I can't wait to get that out there. So that's a really good report. If you don't do totals only, my demo data is all over the place, but it's really good audit report. It will tell you, this beginning should be the last ending, and if it's not, it will give you a little star. Of course, my demo, like I said, is all over the place, so it's not going to be normal data, but we've had people tell us this has really helped them because they might have missed a job, putting a job in or something, So that's really a good feature. Let's see here. Now, to add a customer, if you go to Manage Customer, it's very easy to do. You can click on Add right here, enter customer information, and click on Save. In the system, if you want to send job notifications, like we were doing earlier, the pre and post notifications, that's where you do that, and you could have unlimited text or email there. Very simple to do. We have all of your history ever generated for that customer's bill in the system. If it's chemical sale, payment, invoices, all of your history is there. If you need to go and print, reprint a statement for anybody, even any previous statements, you can do that as well. Very easy to do for that particular customer. Once you post an invoice, it moves it into a posted archive there. If you made a mistake, even after you printed your statements, you can still edit it and reprint a statement. So that's a very good feature. Just click on edit and it will update your commission information, your inventory information. Easy to do. All right. At the end of the month, I'm going to click on print monthly statements, and you can print all your statements. Let me show you one individual so you won't see all of everybody's statements. Click on one statement, click on print. Some people like a condensed version. This is a condensed version of the statement, but you can also print all of your invoices on the statement itself. Instead of printing invoices, there's a lot of people that like to do that. So you can do a condensed version or a full version. So let me see if I can find a different one that looks a little bit different here. All right, this is a condensed version. So it can also include finance charges and previous balance, chemical sales, but basically the full version is that full invoice on the statement itself. All right, now on your month end, after you print all of your statements, you can do a condensed statement report. What that does, it gives you a summary of everyone's statement. So it kind of gives you a great information similar to that customer profile. It gives you your previous balance, all the acres, charges, credits, and their new balance. All right, and then this monthly summary report is a really nice report. You can go months back if you need to look. It's great for your bookkeeper. We've got the previous balance, all the summary information, good information to plug into a bookkeeping system like QuickBooks or others. Have your commission information for the month. You have what you did in liquid and dry, and also what each vehicle did. So a lot of people really like this monthly summary. It's great for your business owner to review that, or your bookkeeper. And then you can just clear your month out so you won't be seeing everything else on your statements. It's an optional thing to roll your month out. Some people just mail out invoices individually. So if they don't want to do statements, they don't have to. But there's also a neat button here called the bottom line. Click on that. I just imagined an owner of a company putting this on his cell phone and hitting that button a lot. You'll immediately know what people owe you. You know what you owe in commission balances, year-to-date acres, and year-to-date field income. So it's just a quick glance of the program. I think I'm going to stop here. I'm getting kind of wordy here. And if you have some questions, feel free to call, and we'll be happy to help you. We have great support, 24/7 support. We have 3 support people here from 8 to 5, and after that, they forward the calls to me, and I've helped people early in the morning, late at night. We're proud to show the program, and we would love to show you more information if you have questions. 870-238-9222 or support@chem-man.com. Thank you for listening.